Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Ghost Gals. I'm your host, Michelle.
And I'm Janine.
Hi, Janine. It's good to see you again.
Good to
It's
see you
been
as well.
there too. Yeah. So today, Janine, I thought we would talk about trigger objects. And this kind of comes off of our last episode, if people remember, where you were talking about a specific trigger object that one of our team members uses on one of our investigation locations. So, why don't you share with our audience what a trigger object is, just in case anyone isn't familiar with that term?
So, a trigger object can be many different things, just depending on what type of spirit you're trying to interact with. Some of the most common things used are the Boo Bear, which is a stuffed animal teddy bear that speaks so that it can connect with the other side. You can actually set up audio recordings so that whatever it's saying, the ghost can respond to that. You can capture audio. It also lights up when it's touched so that you can see if ghosts are there. It takes in temperatures, that type of thing. But it's an object that specific spirit would be drawn to. So for the Boo Bear, we're obviously trying to connect with child ghosts. Sometimes if we're trying to connect with like an older gentleman that was living in a home to get a message from him, we'll leave a cigar out. Or, my grandfather, we would leave out a little bottle of whiskey for him to get him to come in and communicate. But it's just an object that is enticing
Mhm.
to draw them out and have them want to connect and communicate with us.
I think the term trigger object is almost misleading because to me, it almost sounds aggressive. Trying to, you hear people try to trigger ghosts or, enrage them. They'll say like, curse, or they'll say mean or hostile things to try to get a reaction. And that's certainly not the point. Well, for most cases, at least when we use them, of a trigger object. And it can be anything, right? It can be, I know on some investigation, we've used dolls. One investigation location that we use a Raggedy Ann doll, and this is a restaurant near the Whaley House where there's reports of a little girl being there. And actually, on an investigation, someone taking photos actually got pictures of a little girl in the mirror. You can see her outline in her little blue dress. And so, based on that, some people brought in a little Raggedy Ann doll. It's pretty small, little miniature one, and they leave it in there. And we've even brought in a ball because there's supposed to be supposedly reports of a little spirit of a little boy being in there. Not that balls are just for boys, but brought in a ball. And I think it's so interesting because trigger objects can, like you were saying, cigar, whiskey, it can be toys. I think it's really interesting when people bring in objects from the time period of the place that they're investigating or where they think the spirit is from. Like I've heard of like cannonballs, swords, just about anything. What do you think is like the most interesting trigger object you've seen used, Janine?
Well, I'd say probably the most interesting that I have seen used is people bringing in an actual vehicle to connect with somebody. So, like an
A
actual car.
vehicle. Okay. That's the big trigger.
Very, very large. And the connection that they were trying to get was with a man who actually passed away in that vehicle. So it was,
Oh, so it was the vehicle.
remodeled over the years, brought back to its original glory, and
Wow.
they were trying to connect to the original owner.
Did it work?
It did. They were actually able to get lots of activity. The radio would go in and out of actual radio channels to white noise, and you could hear voices coming through the radio.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and people also will sometimes play music. I mean, it's not exactly an object, but it's still that connection, right? That's kind of that stimulation. I know some people even use like different scent. If they knew a woman were, maybe this was like like rose water or some kind of rose scent, spritzing that around. So yeah, it's sky's the limit. You can get really, really creative with this one.
Yeah, a lot of times people bring food, candy for children,
Mhm.
and
That's right, we said candy.
toys.
Yeah.
all sorts of toys. Like Hot Wheels have been really good for us out at a place called Pioneer Park. There's a whole section towards the front where the children were buried, and we bring out Hot Wheels and little like toy trucks and stuff, and they'll get moved. But one of my new fascinations is cat balls.
Yes, I love the cat balls. And tell people what a cat ball is. Not everyone's gonna be familiar. I didn't know until you brought them out, but we got some great results with those, some amazing results with those.
They're super cheap. They're these little balls that you push the button on them, and they light up when they're touched and moved. So it attracts the cats to come bounce them around and play with them because they'll light up. Well, we've actually found that if you place them out in areas and you're communicating, especially with child ghosts, they will touch them and light them up to let you know that they're there, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, we had some pretty amazing results last time we did Pioneer Park, and we had those because they'll be sitting there completely still, nothing moving them. And it's great because you can you can show that there is nothing there external to set it off. And then all of a sudden they'll go off, especially when they're going off in response to questions that you're asking. And like you said, they are so cheap. They're so, and I don't know if cats, I know they're called cat. I don't know if cats would actually really play with those darn things, but hey, they're a good, inexpensive item to have in your ghost kit.
Yeah, I'm going to actually connect a little piece of evidence that we captured at the 10th Avenue Art Center in October of the staircase where a little girl had passed away. She was about 6 or 7 when she died. And we set out a couple of cat balls on a table in the hallway where her body was found. And she was able to turn them off and on command.
Yeah, that's pretty great stuff. And I'm trying to think what other triggers we've used before. Gosh, I feel like so many, but yeah, the ones for children really seem to be the ones that get the best. Oh, I was going to say, I really like ones that move to, like you said, like the Hot Wheels, things that are easy to move, not so easy to move that they're just going to start rolling on their own, but like the Hot Wheels is a great one, or a ball. It's easy for a spirit to manipulate, right? Because it's going to take a lot of energy to move any object. So why make it difficult for them? Give them something that they can interact with, like Boo Bear. And I've seen Boo Bear. Boo Bear's been used on a number of paranormal investigation shows I've seen too.
Yeah, I like whoever created the Boo Bear really put everything possible that would entice a child's spirit to want to mess with it. So you hold its hands, it'll light up on the hands. If the temperature changes, his chest will light up. It will actually say phrases and then leave like 20 seconds in between for a spirit to respond. So you can set up those audio recorders. And it's things like, can you sing the ABCs? And then it'll start singing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then it pauses to let them kind of finish it.
Uh,
You know, do you like to play with me? You know, oh, did you make me get cold? Just cute little phrases to try to pull in those spirits to communicate with it. Super effective.
yeah, but I think we're almost crossing that line from cute to creepy, kind of like our last episode where we talked about haunted dolls. I think, Boo Bear.
His little voice freaks me out just a little bit because he does somewhat sound possessed at times, but the ghosts tend to like him for some reason.
Yeah, creepy likes creepy.
And now, not necessarily 100% a trigger object, but we do take flashlights where we've loosened the tops and they can touch and make those light up. I do feel like spirits sometimes can be a little bit of afraid of our little objects that we place out for them. So it's always good to set our intentions with them and let them know like that we mean them no harm, that the devices that we're using cannot harm them, and that they're just a way for them to prove that they're there and make contact with us.
Well, and also a lot of times we'll give them instructions. We'll kind of teach them how to interact with it. Yeah, and you wonder, like, what time period are they from? Is this something that they've ever seen before in their own lifetime? So yeah, it's like any new technology, it can be it can be scary or they don't know what to do with it. But is the flashlight's a good one. Yeah, I've seen crazy things with flashlights, from getting responses, batteries that were drained, and then all of a sudden they're working again, ones that were turned off, coming back on, or sometimes we'll even unscrew it a little bit so it's a little bit more sensitive, so it's easier for spirits to manipulate. But yeah, and then there's all the fun stuff under the guise of investigation equipment, right?
Yeah, you were saying earlier about music. We have a space called Heritage Park up above Old Town San Diego, and there's a house there called the Sherman Gilbert House. So
Yeah.
I'll pull up old music from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and I'll play it on my phone because the haunting there is from two women that were really into the arts here in San Diego, so much so that they actually helped to fund the arts here, keeping theaters open, making sure that lessons were available. And they would have galas out of their home to raise money for this stuff. And they would have live performers come, like Marco Caruso, who was an opera singer, and Anna Pavlova, the ballerina, actually came and performed there.
Oh, wow.
But the sisters, Gertrude and Bess, one was trained on the piano, the other was an avid singer. And at the end of every night, they would get on the piano, one would play while the other sang. So when we
Mm.
start to play some of that old timey music from like YouTube or whatnot, and ask them, is this a song that you remember? When we turn it off, sometimes you'll actually hear the piano and the singing coming from inside the building that we know is completely sealed,
Oh,
unsafe for people to go inside. So there's definitely nobody inside there, but it's enough to trigger them to perform for us, which is super cool.
well, now I'm ready to go out and try that.
Well, we're definitely going to be setting up a meetup soon to go out there and do some investigating. So maybe we'll get that up on our pages and get some of our guests to come out and experience it with us.
Yeah. All right, well, Janine, is there anything else we have to say about trigger objects? I think we covered a lot tonight.
I think we really did. And, that just kind of leads into some more really interesting things that we can talk about on our next episode. So definitely keep your eyes and ears peeled for those episodes coming at you. And we hope to see you on our next episode of Ghost Gals.
No scales. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.